Well, the Broncos go out and they oblige and they get that franchise bona fide guy in Russell Wilson. It doesn't make a difference really on the roster, because the national guys, for what it's worth, PFF/ESPN, Ben Lindsay, who writes for both publications, ranked the Denver Broncos roster as the 14th most talented, Scott. And we can go through what Ben Lindsay rated as the biggest strengths, the biggest weaknesses, and then also the X factor here. But what's your overall? I mean, we are in the middle of the deadest period on the NFL calendar. 'Tis the season for arbitrary national lists. So let's get that out of the way. But we're here to talk about anything and everything that's happening right now and being talked about Broncos. So what say you? Is that a pretty fair assessment, you think? Because I don't think it's that far off the mark, to be honest with you, if we're just trying to be as objective as possible.
All right. Well, one, it's nearly impossible to be well-versed enough in the rest of the NFL for us to truly say, okay, this is ridiculous. However, when we're talking about, like you've said, most of the national media has consistently said that this is a team that's a quarterback away. Well, they got their quarterback. Okay, so now you're at 14th. So my big question on this, Chad, was what were they last year?
Right.
What did they have PFF have the team last year?
I'm going to look it up.
Do you remember? I know, so I can tell you.
What was it?
It was 10. 10.
No kidding.
So you're telling me,
dude. You're
telling me that this roster got worse. No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
Whoa.
Okay. If you talk about this, I like the way Nick does this. Nick likes to say, I like to break up the positions basically, in weighted scales. If the quarterback's your final exam, it costs 30%. The inside linebacker was a pop quiz. There's 10 quizzes that make up 5% of your grade. Well, you went from a 65 to an 85 at worst. You went from a C to an A minus at worst, at the most important position, and your roster went down? No. That's where I have the problem, Chad. This team didn't go. I know it might be different people doing the rankings, but it was still based on PFF, using PFF grades. And the one player who came off was Von Miller, who did have a high grade. He was a 90. So that's true. That's fairly significant. But when you're talking about bringing in a multi-time Pro Bowler who's in the prime of his career at quarterback, if you were a quarterback away, you just fix that problem. You don't go from 10 to 14. That's ridiculous. And we can get into more of this. But my initial thought is this roster didn't get worse, and you just told me it did. Baloney.